Live out near Texarkana. Parents have farm with a few cows, horses, and too many chickens to count. Farm sits on the boundary between woods and plains, trees are sparse but thicken up like crazy toward back of property. Parents gone to Corpus Christi for vacation, so of course I have to take care of all the animals. Tack the heat wave passing through onto that, and it's basically constant care making sure they're watered. My favorite .ogg closest friends are out of town for the week. Farm is about 20 miles outside city limits, so I can rule getting my dick wet out of the roster of activities. Split time up between feeding aminals and siding in my new SIG 556 I got for graduation. Wake up one morning, one of our older horses had died. She had plenty of water, but the heat must have just been too much for her, poor girl. I phoned Dad, he tells me to go to neighbor Frank a few miles down the road, he has a backhoe. Go to Frank, tell him my situation. He follows me back home with the thing and fills me in on how to operate, not too different from a tractor, so I'm set. Tells me he'll be back the next morning for the backhoe. Set to work digging Empress grave, fill it in, offer a moment of silence, shed a manly tear. Suddenly inspiration. Wave. Turn the backhoe back on and chug-a-lug to the back of the property. 30 plus acres and not a single berm for shooting? Madness. Don't bother telling parents because they wouldn't give a fuck. Start digging a berm, leave the trench forest side. Suddenly smell this dank, shitty odor. Panic and think I hit a sewer line. I'm gonna get it. Jiv. Hop down out of cab and search the trench for busted pipe, none to be found. Suddenly feel uneasy, feeling of being watched. Scan tree line and surrounding field. Zip. Chalk it up to dead horse and residual guilt, but still tactically back to backhoe. Glad I left it running. Text. Chug-a-lug back to farm, turn it off and head inside. Get up early next morning, make a big country breakfast and go out to feed some motherfucking critters. Go out to do the horse's routine, but with one less chunk of hay on the wheelbarrow. Sad face. Png. Suddenly wafted a most unpleasant vapor. That smelly smell from yesterday, mixed with rot. Head out on a hunch to where I buried Empress. Stagger and nearly puke. The grave's been robbed. Her head has been placed, emphasis on placed, upright near a largish hole in the ground. Tongue has been ripped out, eyelids gone, and eyes been popped, her cheeks and neck look chewed on. Maggots crawling around the wounds. Vitreous humor dry and crusty running down one cheek. Seen dead animals and scavenging before, this trumps all in my book. Plus, I love that horse, so this is disturbing on a number of levels. Hear squealing sound behind me, brick my shorts. It's neighbor Frank. He asks why I look so pale, tell him coyotes dug up the horse. Bullshit. I dug that grave at least 7 feet deep. He nods and leaves with backhoe. I play car shuffle again to get him back to his truck. Get home, carefully tip Empress head back down the grave with a shovel and rebury her. Go into garage, slop some coyote urine around grave to keep the fuckers away. It pays to have a family as into hunting as mine. Fast forward to that afternoon. Head out on four-wheeler with a few targets, my SIG, and my moist nugget, trashy. Yes. Cheap. Also yes, for a little side calibration. Go to set up targets, realize I didn't bring anything to actually set them up on. Punch self. Go into trees to grab some sticks. As I approach, get the same feeling as the day before. Go into trees, grab some suitable sticks, and do the nope scoot back to my site. Whittle sticks into stakes, make shift a few targets into side of berm, get my SIG calibrated to within acceptable parameters and operate on the clean target for a few minutes with the nugget. After a while, realize it's getting dark. Decide to take targets and shit down, clean up my brass and head back. Leave no trace. BSA. As I'm taking the targets down, the afternoon breeze shifts and suddenly stank. Hear movement from other side of berm and nearly nope a small but sturdy wall in my pants. Decide not to be a pussy, grab my SIG and climb the berm to have a little peek. See medium-sized black shape huddled down in the trench. Aren't you cute? JPG. Figure it's a black bear cub or something, they're more common than most folks realize, and back away slowly in case mama's nearby. Clumsy hamhand accidentally a shower of dirt onto the cub. It looks up at me. That's no cub. MP4. Let me just say that while I'm not the original badass, creepy or spooky images and shit don't frighten me that easily. Shit, when I was little one of my favorite pets was Delightful, an older Welsh pony with no eyes. Her eye holes were, in fact, sewn over and sunken in. She made one of my friends cry just by looking at him. That being said, this thing was on a completely other level, spectrum, and set of physics from that sweet old pony. Best way I can describe it is comparing it to pig-related. Jaw was a bit thinner, eyes were beadier and darker, and the nose was more sunken back, but the rest of the details are pretty close. Same drooly mouth, same slack-jawed grin, same snargly-ass teeth. At this point, my brain made an executive order to re-examine my previous decisions. Fuck the targets, fuck the brass, fuck the scouts, fuck not being a pussy, and fuck slow going. I tactically backed to the ATV, spent 0.00000001 of a second making sure my guns are stowed securely and gunned that shit back to the garage. Once inside with a good 8 acres between me and the fuck beast of Pellucidar, I realize that I have a sworn duty to protect my farm. I already let one of my charges die under my watch. It's time to nut up or shut up. Cue arming sequence. Avi. Grab my dad's tack vest, have to cinch it a little tight, and his Night Owl 5X, load up with 320 RD AR-15 mags loaded with 5.56 NATO. Slap the third into my SIG and sling my new gun over my shoulder. My nugget takes mags, so I put one in with 5 to spare on my vest and shouldered that bad boy. Fuck me, I even slipped a knife into my boot. There are floodlights strung up about the farm for entertaining or night work, switches are in the garage and balcony. Go for high ground. JPG. I tactically threw the house to the balcony and get ready for war. Not a moment too soon, start hearing squawks and gurgles and, I still get the giblies to this day, laughter coming from the chicken pen. Fuck this. I slam every switch and light up the farmyard like Rockefeller Square on Christmas. There it is, standing in the pen like pig-related. Its body was shaped like a fucking cush ball, all matte black fur. Arms and legs were thin, but looked powerful and wiry. It was holding one of the hens with its head torn off, and staring straight at me. It was obviously a male of whatever the fuck species it was, and there was fucking blood hanging off its shitty beast cock. I unslung my SIG and mag dumped, not worrying about hitting anything, trying to hit that black cotton ball on stilts. I remember thinking, I hope I blow your shitty cock off, you piece of slime. Yes, the words my brain used were piece of slime. I scored at least 5 or 6 good THWUCKs, my target being only about 50 yards downrange. It never moved the entire time, puffs of fur flying off of it. I ejected the mag, slapped a new one in, and took aim again. I'll never forget the look it gave me, framed by that green sight. It almost said,
"Are you done?"
I squeezed off a final shot at its fucking mouth. I hit it. I fucking know I hit it. I remember it almost in slow motion, the puff of fucking saliva and shit as my 5.56 NATO round introduced itself to its face at 3,000 feet/s. The thing started wheezing. Like a rusty gate being swung back and forth, that kind of sound. It dropped the hen and stepped over the chicken fence. I swear to fuck that this thing has either retractable legs, or its body is mostly puffy fur, because when it stepped over the fence, that leg almost disappeared. I wasn't gonna let it run away. Mag dump 2, the redumpening. I didn't score any hits though. Once it was over that fence, it dropped to all fours and scuttled off like some giant spider back to the crack in Satan's couch, all while wheezing that noise. I stayed up all that night, waiting for it to come back. Fed the animals with my cig over my shoulder, went to sleep, repeated the process until my parents came home. Never saw the chicken fucking shit weasel again.